so we've gotten to the VOS. Questions and answers. Questions? Cricket? Bueller? Anyone?
Did we get through all the, are people more clear on their challenges? Are they clear on the leadership and how it all connects?
It's a good question. Who's clear, and what are some of the things that you think you've taken out of this that can help you achieve overcoming that biggest challenge? Oops.
You know, what I've taken away from what Dawn has said and what many of other people have said, particularly between you and Ed, is how to find other people, right? So I'd say before I worked at a factory and I would take care of a line of people. I'd work with people in their 60s, I'd work with people in their 20s and their 30s. They're all at different levels of attention span that can do things, right? Well, these two ladies I was working with the other day that were kind of in their 40s or 60s, you know, not all
40s
with
to 60s.
It's okay, guys, come on now.
You're over 40, you might as well be 60.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was the line leader breaking people, and I would go up to them and I'd see their machine piled with parts, right? And I could see them tired and I could see them struggling. So I took one lady, I said, look, if you do 4 pieces at a time, you let them cool and you take them off, you'll be more productive. I understand you've got a lot, so this is what you do. You put one line all hot, one line all cold, and go back and forth until you get it all done. I said, I'll come back in 5 minutes. You know what she did? She took 6 off, took 6 off, and took 6 off instead of 4. I came back, I said, you know what, you're getting it down. But if you were leaving the parts on a little bit longer, you'd help them stay better, because plastic is a very living animal, because if you mess it up too early before it cools, it'll continue to shrink inside and it won't fit. So I said, leave them cool a little bit longer. I came back and she was trying that process and she was kind of there. But give it a few hours later, she was back to that same problem. So I don't know. I think what it is showing them really how it can work for them best, because they've got to figure out every machine on their own, right? They're not going to be able to just take what I'm really good at and do it themselves. It's finding what really works for you and you know how it works, and finding how it'll be exciting and intriguing for them to do it that same way and meet them on that level. Like, you know, one of your friends is interested in going shopping. Well, what's in it for them? If you find out what's in it for them and how it has value, you'll get them to have the same energy to learn what you're learning if you find what their value would be in learning it. Same with lawn sales. When I go to someone's store and I'm talking, hi, would you like to buy lawn care? No, I don't want to buy lawn care. Your first defense is no. Why? Because I'm selling you something. But if you tell them, you know, well, you've got weeds here, this is actually causing your lawn to thin by using, you know, Scott's 4-step, because it's all granular, right? You have to water activate. You could burn your lawn if you're applying it at the wrong time, as opposed to just letting us use liquid at the right time, letting it slow release so it doesn't burn your lawn. And you know what, we're taking out the guesswork for you, so you don't have to store it somewhere letting your pets get into it, right? So then they see, okay, you know, I do have pets and kids and I don't really like dealing with chemicals. I can spend more time with my family. It costs the same much as buying products at the store, so just let someone else do it so you can have your time, one of your valuable resources. And then you transfer their mind and what's in it for them, and then they get excited about what you do, and then you close them into a sale or inviting them down to an event. Does that make sense?
So do you know how unusual what you just did is?
No. What?
So you wouldn't have the knowledge then of where you got what you just did from?
Well, what I got from what I just did was, when I was younger, I was in middle school, and
She's very old now.
Yeah.
guys, come on. Okay, but in middle school and elementary, I'd have a really hard time making friends and getting them to see my point of view. You know, I would have to kind of impress them, you know, and I would tell them all the benefits and the details. So I'd make a friend, right? But along the way, I'd kind of sell myself out of a friend by doing so many different things, right?
Right back out.
Talk yourself into a sale, talk yourself right back out. Once I learned, you know, okay, this person's, you know, they're selling, right? Quiet, calm down, you've already got it. Just slow down and be yourself. And that's when I learned, okay, you're at the buying table, someone is following you, right? They're getting it mentally. They're getting what it costs. They're getting what it costs at the store. They're getting it how it benefits the law and how it doesn't benefit the law. Okay? They can make decisions for themselves. Can they afford it? Can they not afford it? If you can show them more affordable ways, they'll be more interested. If they, you know.
Did your parents teach you this?
No. No.
Where did you learn it?
I kind of learned it on my own and by little help of mentors here and there.
And asking the right people.
And asking people.
Yeah. So something Kristen said that I want to go back to your Black Hawk analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if you took the software from a Black Hawk, right, and you put it into a Raptor. Would it work? A completely different machine,
Right.
with a different set of weapons,
Right.
different mission structure, you know, flies differently, different kind of pilot. It wouldn't work, right? What would happen to the Raptor? Would it even get off the ground?
Right.
Obviously not.
Could
And so Kristen pointed something out where you have to, I hope I get this right. Yeah, you have to understand the value that's needed in a particular situation, right? When you understand the value, when you know what your customers need or what your team needs or what your business needs, then you know what to look for to fulfill that need, right? So I can't just go out and say, hey, I own the code to Black Hawk helicopters, we can win in a war, we fight. Well, no, it takes more than a Black Hawk helicopter, right? You need the code to, you need the software to run every piece of equipment involved. And that ties into your presentation, right? So you have different types of people, right? And the precision of a Black Hawk helicopter same as in a business, you may have a certain precision that a person can give that someone else can't, right? So you are more of a people's person. You know, you have a role to fulfill that you, Bruce, cannot, right? So I understand what you guys are saying, like find somebody who's done it before, but I think it's more than that. You have to find somebody who's done it before the way you need to do it.
Yeah.
What
in
if
the
there
business
was
that you're in.
software that would work in any?
I think that software would lack the precision that each individual use needed.
What if it didn't?
Do you know of such software?
It might.
What's it called?
It's Boss. I mean,
Okay.
Tom Kunzmos, the past president of the largest real estate franchise in the world, when he saw the 530 grid, he's like, I mean, he's shaking. He's like, unbelievable. It's like, do you understand what you have here? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I don't think you do. I'm like, okay. He's like, this is the DNA. It's the engine for any size business anywhere in the world, in any industry. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a lemonade stand and it can be $1 billion company. And so he saw something that even those who helped create it didn't see. And as I've traveled around the world, the DNA for people, I mean, it worked in Africa. I mean, it worked in Russia. It worked in Israel and Egypt. Everywhere I've gone. Matter of fact, Amy Xie from China, she went ahead and said, you know, Mark, you don't understand Chinese people. I'm like, that's intriguing. You know what they said when I was over in Africa? It's like, no, what did they say? I said, you don't understand Africans. I said, you know what they said, you know, when I was over in Russia? You don't understand Russians. I said, you know what my wife says to me? You don't understand women. You know my 7 kids, you know what they say? You don't understand me. Like everybody in the world thinks like they're unique. And they are, but they're not. If you understand at the core level of human nature, and about 6 months later, she went ahead and she and I were talking in a coffee connection, and she's like, I don't understand Chinese people. She's from China. She's Chinese. She told me I didn't understand Chinese. She's like, I don't understand Chinese people. I said, you want me to explain them to you? She's like, yeah. So I explained them to her. She's like, oh my gracious, you understand Chinese people better than I do. So there's higher governing laws, and if you find things at the core, it works in everything.
You know, that could be true. But just the way that a business is a personality and a person's a person, even though there's core things, like there's those 4 shapes and they work for anybody, that person still has to come to their own realization of it and their own way of getting there. It took her 6 months. Did it take that guy when he figured it out right then and there how to do it? Did he do it? Yeah, he did it. He figured it out. But it took her 6 months. So everybody has got to create that perfect system for them in themselves. And before they can do that, I don't think it would work. Does that make? That's just my opinion.
Well, it's because you're thinking of, your experience.
Did that answer your question at all?
Well, what was the question?
You asked it.
Do you remember what it was?
She's saying that the system is only going to work as good as people are willing to learn it and adopt it. That needs to happen. That needs to be the first step.
So, people used to think, or most people still do, that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But my daughter's husband's mother, who has horses, says you can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink, but you can put salt in the oats.
Mm-hmm.
So
then there's those people that push other people.
So has leadership come down to salting the oats?
well, it does. It's understanding. So it's understanding people better than they understand themselves, and having 7 children, 3 boys, 4 girls, from 27 down to 14. If you're really observant, you start to understand that there's things that drive people, and if you find what's driving somebody and then help them to see it, then all of a sudden they'll see it rather than 6 months. They can see it in 6 weeks, or maybe 6 days, or maybe 6 minutes, or maybe 6 seconds. And so how fast can you help people see things that they might not ever see before, or might take decades or their whole life?
I don't know.
It's almost like an addiction, like the first step to recovery is realizing you have a problem. And if you realize what type of personality you are and what your strengths and weaknesses are, and more importantly, your biggest challenge, which mine would be focus, then you can work and the systems are in place and you can use them to be successful. And you can either use people that have the personalities that you don't have to be along with you on your team, or you can really work at it to have the personality traits that you're lacking. Even though you're not a driver, you can know that drivers are focused and you can learn from them and you can adapt some of that. We just have to work harder at it. So I look at this grid and it's very overwhelming to me, but I actually picked the cube first, so I am analytical also. So I do want to know like how these all fit in, but the expressive in me wants to take it all in at once. And I can't do that. I've got to start at square one in the first area, and I've got to work on that. And so that is what I'm doing.
So are there absolutes in any of this, though? And do there have to be?
Would anybody know that you were going to ask that question before you did? And if they did, how would they know that? Because that would be kind of freaky. I don't know. It's all strange. It's all strange.
Sealed in this door.
Mark's last question.